Welcome to the Garden of Edun. Dami be asking the questions for the answers that you want to hear. All you gotta do is sit back, grab a chair, or listen up while you clean and cook. Take a leaf from the creative's book. These gems open your mind and your heart. Okay, the show's gonna start. Cheese! Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of the podcast. I have a very special guest in Maisie Barlow, who is an award-winning actress, a poet, and a coach within the artistic space. Now, unfortunately, on this week's episode, my audio was not really up to scratch due to some production issues on my side, although Maisie's audio is perfectly fine. I'm really sorry about that. I hope you're still able to enjoy the podcast and find a lot of value in it. Anyway, without further ado, thanks for watching and hope you enjoy this week's episode. Oh, we're going to get into that. We're going to get into it. Don't worry. I'm going to introduce the podcast now, though.
Go for it.
Welcome, everyone, to the Garden of Edun podcast. This is where ideas grow. And I'm adding something new, actually, because obviously people are listening on YouTube. Please, if you see the subscribe button below for more podcasts, thank you, Maisie. Yeah, keep putting down. Subscribe button below. Just, if you like it, only if you like it, just click it. If you like it, you might as well. Because then
even
you'll...
if you don't like it, click it.
No, even if you don't like it, it's just one little action. It makes me feel good, makes you feel good, makes a difference in the world, clearly. So yeah, get subscribing. As you've probably guessed, I'm with a special guest, Maisie, who is an actor, a poet. I've seen some of her stuff as well, which is really good, and we're going to get into it. And recently a coach in the last couple of years, as you were describing. So Maisie, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing? And especially obviously with the pandemic having lasted a lot longer than I think anybody really guessed for. How are you doing amongst all the, I guess, changes, or the emotional, mental toll that it's taken, obviously industry-wise as well, Jesus, it must have been a huge shake-up. How are you feeling amongst all of that?
It's hard to answer in a single sentence, I suppose. It's personally, I'm doing okay. Yeah. And I think that's because I suppose I've slightly changed trajectories. I'm not necessarily in the acting world as much as I used to be, which happened just before the pandemic it was 2019 that I kind of stepped away a little bit from the industry. So obviously I'm still kind of linked in a way because I had been performing for a living. That's what I was doing. But so I've seen this kind of, I suppose, whole industry fall to pieces. And I've seen the effect, I suppose, it's had on people in the industry and beyond. There's no doubt that everybody has suffered some sort of loss over the last however long it's been now, year and a bit. And I think personally, I've been very lucky because I'm in a training that is incredibly supportive. It's like a therapeutic, using the arts training. So I've got this amazing band of sisters who are all doing the same training, and we have kind of just had each other's back, and I've got that weekly check-in, and I've actually made it a real point this year to start focusing on me and not putting that pressure on. And actually, dare I say it, it was quite a relief to have a year where I didn't have to chase anything and there was no pressure almost. I know that sounds weird, but I think especially in London, there's this kind of we've got to do this and we've got to be showing that I'm doing this and blah 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 blah. Like we were just saying, fast paced. And actually just putting a little bit of a pause on that has given me a huge amount of time to go, okay, am I listening to myself? Am I being true to myself? Am I following something that is like good for me and ultimately good for other people? And that was kind of my fallout with the industry, was like, yeah, it was good for me and it was great to get on stage and like do a show and get the applause and all of that. But like, I couldn't really justify it because I didn't know who I was helping, like directly.
And is that a reflection that you got just during the pandemic, or was that something that you thought about before and now you'd had the time to really go deep with that that train of thought?
I think it's been ruminating for a while. Like, I've been questioned. Like, I you know, the acting industry is notoriously like setback after setback. So you kind of have to question while you're doing it all the time. And when you lose sight of why you're doing it, or you kind of ask yourself that question, like it was almost a daily thing for me. Like, okay, I'm waking up, I'm like, and for a long time there was no doubt in my mind. I was like, yeah, I'm an actress. This is what I'm going to do till the day I die. Like, I'm not ever going to change. Like, this is it.
Yeah.
And then I had like a very life-changing experience in 2019, where I ended up pregnant.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's going to change life a lot.
My life changed.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I didn't end up having the baby, and things, we won't go too far into that, but it shifts your mentality to say the least. Like, it shifts your kind of like who you are in the world, what you mean in the world, like all of those things that I've been, I suppose, had in the background, that were like existing in the back of my mind, kind of came to a fore, and it was like, right, okay, life has changed. And I was waking up and I was going, do I want to act? Like, am I enjoying it? I was going along to like these incredible acting classes, called GOE if anyone's listening. They are incredible, and like, you're mixing with these amazing other actors and actresses, and they're all doing it. They're all like, you've got Netflix stars, and like mixed in with people that are recent graduates, and like it's just a melting pot for like support and an environment to test things out and to keep your craft sharp.
Yeah.
But I stopped enjoying it. I realized that when I got there, what I loved most was that check-in in the beginning, and that like real human connection of, oh, we're all sitting here together, let's have a conversation. And actually sitting there waiting to perform, and then like getting up and performing, I was like, this isn't it.
Did you feel like you'd lost the love within the field and the skill set?
Yeah, I think so. And like, yeah, I that's exactly what had happened. Like, there was a day where I went along to this, like I say, incredible workshops. Like, you cannot get any better.
Can you name drop? Or was it that level of
And listen, this
name drop because
the beauty of it. The beauty of it is the fact that like it is a melting pot for like all different levels, and yeah, like what will happen is that everyone just holds each other accountable and is like there and is present and is like, okay, well, I didn't quite believe you when you got up and like said that line, or I didn't quite believe, like, oh, maybe you could have done that different, or had you thought about doing it this way? And then you'd try the scene again, and it's just like running a little bit of a scene. Like, that's what it was. But it was incredibly powerful, incredibly like, and I loved the kind of directing bit, so sitting there and like listening to what they thought and all of those things, but then actually being up there and actually like having I used to love that adrenaline. I used to love that like feeling of getting up on stage and being like, ah, oh, yes, it's painful, I'm scared, but I'm doing it. and it stopped being enjoyable. Yeah.
And because I think like with life, because one of the things that I used to operate with quite a lot, running around trying to do different things, was thinking that you have a like one passion, one thing that is yours that you either have to find, or once you find, you just stick with, and that's your thing forever. And
I mean, that's what
everyone
makes
has one.
isn't it?
Yeah, I mean it.
What?
Yeah, like even I guess more so in a romantic context for
Mm.
everyone. Oh, there's the one, and then also there is the passion, the thing that I find that I'm really good at, that makes enough money for me to live, and I just do that forever. And I think as I've got older and over the years, I've come to realize that it's not quite simple, and there's seasons and there's themes where something is really good for you, and then you enter a different phase of your life and realize, oh, actually, this isn't doing what it did for me before. It got me to a certain point, and now I need to look at something different. And so you having that realization, did you know that before that happens? Because I know for a lot of people, when that does hit them, it's really scary because they attach that idea that this was going to be my thing. So when you realize, oh no, this isn't working, did you panic a lot, or did you know that this was a natural thing to happen?
I think like the way that you said it then, like it being almost like this idea of the one in relationships as well, was exactly what it was like I ended up breaking up with the industry, and it was a messy breakup because I was like, oh well, who am I if I'm not Maisie the actress?
Mm,
Like, and that it doesn't sit right, and then you're like, okay, so if I'm not doing this, and like all the people that had kind of, especially with acting, I think all the people that are like, oh yeah, we'll see you on the big screen one day, or we'll see your name in lights, and like all of those, and I just won a whole load of awards like for acting, so it wasn't
mm,
like I wasn't
yeah.
well, it wasn't like I wasn't pursuing and not doing well. It was just the fact that I kind of went, I exist, and then the acting exists, but what had happened was it was almost had become me, and become part of my identity. And I think if we want to live in kind of trueness to ourselves, we have to separate ourselves from everything, in terms of career, in terms of partner, in terms of like hobbies, interests, like all of those things. Yeah, they kind of make you up, even family, you know.
Yeah,
But what have we got apart from ourselves? Like,
I mean,
what have we got apart from the skin and bones that we find ourselves in, and then,
yeah,
our impact on the world? And I see that as valuable. Our impact, what we can do for others, how we can serve others. And I think
mm,
that came with the pregnancy, because it put me into this maternal, not so selfish mindset of like living not just for myself. And I'd always
mm,
been really interested in kind of like helping people, and I'd always sit for hours and hours and like talk to people and listen to their problems, and like, go through all of those motions. So when it kind of hit me and clicked, I was like, wow, yeah, I really would think I would get a huge amount of fulfillment out of helping other people.
mm.
But in order to do that, and there's a but, in order to do that, I needed to find myself first. And I'm still on that journey. Like
I
I'm
mean,
still looking.
it's a lifelong journey. I
Isn't
think
it?
it's a lifelong journey. I think when as you start putting yourself in different situations, it's like how do I put it? So you have all these different situations, and they all do slightly different things to your being that maybe you weren't aware of. And there's
Mm.
there's like an infinite amount of situations that could occur, and you basically don't know how you're going to respond until you put yourself in there. And so I
Mm.
guess in that sense, you're always finding yourself. But I guess in this context, you mean finding, I guess, a more stable version of yourself within something. So
Definitely.
what did you do afterwards then? When you then stepped out of the person who's the actor, because you're not the first person I actually know who's done that specifically with
Mm.
acting, who their whole identity was that, and then they had to step out. So what did you do then?
I cried a lot.
I mean that's good. It's good. It's a release of emotion. So yeah, that's good.
So,
I'm so
but
evil
I
that I'm
also,
laughing, but yeah.
I think I like, I'm trying to think back. Like, it feels like a lifetime ago now, even though it was only about a year and a bit, 2 years. I started thinking about like, okay, well, if I'm gonna step away from Maisie the actress, I don't almost want this like chapter of my life to have been a waste. So I was like,
Mm,
I know that I'm creative. I know that is part of my identity. I know that that is like, I am just a creative person. Like that's what I do. I create, and that's why I went into acting. So I was like, how can I use creativity for good? How can I? And I started like looking at different courses. I started thinking about like, yeah, different things I could do. I actually applied to a few like drama schools to do their kind of like applied theatre. So I thought, okay, cool. So like not just theatre, but theatre like that with social good. So going into prisons, like things like that. Like, and that really got me going. I was like, yes, because I've got friends that have been in prisons that have like come out the other end, and like their stories just like enrich my soul, and I'm like, wow, amazing.
Sorry,
Um,
just for people listening, applied theatre. So that's
yeah,
is that within a specific context or
so applied
institution or
theatre is essentially like theatre with a purpose. So theatre that, like I say, it's kind of like got this social good aspect, or like community theatre lies within that. And so like going into communities and saying, right, we're going to put on a performance piece, we're going to get people from the local community to kind of empower and yeah, nourish the local community. So it's not just
yeah,
getting on stage and getting the applause, collecting your paycheck, all of that.
sure,
It's like, okay, right, how do I do it with purpose? How do I change people's lives for the better through the power of theatre? So that was
yeah,
always like, okay, cool, maybe I can do that. I applied for the Royal School of Central Speech and Drama and got an unconditional offer, uh,
nice.
which was amazing. Like, I was like,
Yeah.
cool, yeah, that's like one of the top schools. I'm like, yeah, wow.
Mm,
And I went along. Sorry, then the pandemic hit, so it was like sort of pandemic time. It was, yeah, beginning of
mm,
last year. Got the unconditional offer. It got to August actually, like mid-August, late towards late August, and I was
mm,
kind of ready. I'd got my student finance sorted out. I was like, cool, I'm gonna go to university and big scary things. I've never done this before, but I'm gonna do it. And it doesn't matter that I'm late because I know I've got my head on my shoulders now. I know that I'm not gonna just go off and party. All of those things.
mm.
Um, and something didn't sit right, and I went. Hmm. I went away for my birthday actually, um, and I just like hadn't talked about it the whole weekend, and it was meant to be like a joyous occasion. Obviously it was my birthday, and I was like with my friends, and I was like having a nice time, and I hadn't said once, oh yeah, I'm starting next month.
Doubts.
And I was like, and I kind of came away from it, and I was like, well, maybe I'm not that excited. And again, I had to check myself, and I had to go, is this the right path?
Yeah.
And a month before I was due to start, I sent them an email and declined my offer.
Wow.
Yeah. And applied for another course. So applied for the Institute for Arts in Therapy and Education. So I say
Mm,
arts in the like plethora sense, like all of the arts. So you've got image, you've got like, yeah, all of the different art forms. And I thought, because what kept coming back to me was like, yeah, it's all well and good for me to say, yeah, I'll continue on this trajectory because I know the arts, I know theatre,
Mm.
but theatre was really the reason that I'd stepped away. Like it was that kind of whole industry that I'd stepped away from. So I was like, so what, am I actually stepping away, or am I just taking the safe option? Am I going, oh, because I know this? And actually when I looked at the course, so the central course, I was like,
Mm.
actually a lot of the things that they were teaching I'd already done in my career. And so I was
Right.
like, maybe I shouldn't be going here. So yeah, a month before I was due to start, I declined my place, got an offer at this other school, which was an advanced diploma,
Mm-hmm.
postgraduate diploma, and I hadn't got a graduate degree. So I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna get it or not, but I'm gonna try anyway.
Yeah,
And
always got to try.
I got a place, and that's what I'm doing at the moment. So I'm almost at the end of that, yeah, that course.
That's sick. It's always really sick to hear how the things kind of piece together, because I think from the outside, when you hear about changes or people transitioning into something, it can sound like headline. It's like, yeah, I was in the theatre and then I just decided, yeah, I'm just gonna do this other thing, and it's that
Well, I'm
simple
just gonna
thing.
do this. Oh no,
Yeah.
it takes real, like, I suppose the word is consideration, and like
Mm.
kind of jumping into the unknown, because you don't like, that's what I did. I was like, I don't know what this is going to hold, I don't know what this is going to be,
Mm.
and it scares the out of me. But I'm going to go for it. um and it, yeah, it's worked out. It's definitely worked out.
Yeah, that's sick, especially that up and down journey to get there. When you find the place of not necessarily comfort, but one where you know, okay, this is a journey that I'm really tied to and I want to embark on. Going through those hardships feels it's a nice story to have, right? Once
Definitely,
you
definitely.
overcome the turbulence. Before we get into what that what the course is like though, obviously like I mentioned earlier, we met at the Fringe, and you were featuring a very popular play, I might say. Um, but what initially got you into acting? I know you said you had some realizations of what
Mm.
acting was doing for you, but I probably guess that that wasn't what you thought initially. So what initially brought you into wanting to even become an actor and making that part of your personality?
It's interesting because I've been looking back recently, and I'm like, yeah, really interesting that that was like my reason for being an actor. So I always, first off, I was good at it. I wasn't very good at school.
Mhm.
I was one of those like mediocre students, so I was kind of like okay at everything, not too bad at anything, just kind of got
Mm.
by, whatever. But the thing that I excelled in, that I always excelled in, was like performing arts, acting,
Mm.
drama, that side of things. So that was kind of like, okay, well, people are seeing that I enjoy it, but also I'm quite good at it. So obviously I kind of like went along with that. Um, and I suppose it started because I liked um, being other people. I liked
Mm.
stepping outside of my own skin
Yeah.
and yeah, being someone else for a bit. Which now I'm kind of going, oh, probably because I didn't like myself very much as a teenager. Yeah, there's some real hard lessons this year, and like one of them is I did not like myself, and therefore it was easier for me to be somebody else.
Mm.
So there was that, but there was also this like when I really started getting into it, and that's when I like the sort of passion took hold of me, and I was like, yeah, this is it. I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna go for it. It was I liked the idea that theatre and performance could challenge and change like perceptions.
Yeah.
So what I stood on stage, so I the show that you were talking about, I did, which was a one-woman show, just me in a chair, like sitting there, and
This is crazy, by the way. Like the fact that you were able to win and be nominated for so many awards with that, like with a show where you're the only cast member, is crazy. What even attracted you to want to be the main actor for that, the only actor for
yeah,
that?
I mean, probably the fact that I thought again, it's like jumping into the fire pit. It's like it's probably the scariest thing you can do as a performer is be a one like solo performer, so a one person show. And the opportunity arose, and the writer wanted me, and I must say like the writing was phenomenal as well, so I can't take all the credit.
Yeah.
but but yeah, I think I don't know, I enjoyed getting on that stage, and like I enjoyed the challenge. I think I've always really enjoyed like doing something that's quite tough, that I don't necessarily know whether I can do it or not, but I'm gonna see. I'm gonna just go for it. And I kind of thought it would give me props in terms of like it's almost what like I say, what people in the industry gear themselves towards. Like essentially it's like, oh, you know, you see dames and sirs and whatever, like they doing a solo show of whatever. And
Yeah.
I thought if I can do that nice and early, because I haven't trained, like technically I've not got any training, so if I can do the
Oh,
hardest thing, this is almost like my training, and if I can do it
yeah.
well, then it was almost like a badge of honor that I could wear walking into auditions, because it was like, okay, cool, so a casting director's there, and I can hold this as, yeah, I don't have training, but I've
I
done this.
managed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got my stripes in the field. Like I've been out here. You guys are just in the you guys are in the classroom learning. I'm in the trenches actually getting my hands dirty. So you can't chat to me. Yeah.
Exactly.
I feel you. I feel you. Um, I knew because I obviously I did some research prior to the podcast, and I didn't realize that you actually did the show for a number of years, right?
Yeah,
A couple of years, right?
we did
So
we did Edinburgh Fringe in 2016, and that was a kind of like first rendition of it, and that's when it kind of we were like, oh, actually I think we've got something quite good here. And then there was other festivals that we did. um
yeah,
finished,
Brighton one as well, right?
yeah, Brighton Fringe Festival, and then the um trying to think of the last performance was 2018, I think. Yeah.
What because obviously you performed that over a number of years, so you must have enjoyed the the story as well. So just to give everyone and I guess myself as well a bit more context, what was the story about and what attracted you to that as well? Because I'm sure that plays a part in whether you actually want to do something
Hugely,
too.
hugely. I think so the show follows the story of a mother um whose son has been committed of a crime, and it's her kind of reaction to that, as well as what happens to her in terms of like press coverage and media, and her being scrutinized for being a bad mother. And I think the reason that it did so well as well is because it was an angle that's not usually looked at. So yeah, we get the victim's family, and like this is like real life. We get the victim's story, we're like, oh, you know, they came from this home and this is like the lovely family and, you know, poor victim. But actually what we forget about is the fact that the accused or the person that's done the crime has a family as well.
Mm.
And so depicting that kind of trauma, I use the word trauma like trauma, of this woman that is like, you know, first knock on the door from the police and your son's been arrested and what, like, we need you to come down to the station, and all of that kind of reeling and like step to step to step, and then ultimately to like come at the end to this place of acceptance, of like being able to sit opposite her son and go, you know, I still love you. I think was like such a journey, and like what attracted me to it was just being able to tell a story like that almost gave power to the fact that people like that exist. And when I said about challenging perceptions, like I had grown men in the audience that would come up to me afterwards and say, you made me cry and think about my own mother. Like,
wow.
Like what I have done in my life that I regret, that I am like sorry for, and like they're sitting there crying, grown men. And that was like
really difficult.
That was like the wow, oh my goodness, like this is incredible, and this is what theatre can do. Yeah.
Wow, that's mad powerful, especially because for men, especially grown men from a different generation, difficult for them to express those kind of emotions. So to touch them that deeply means that the piece was profound. Obviously, you did a great job delivering it through your being too. And yeah, it's true. You know, a lot of people don't think about the accused when the family, sorry, of the accused, especially if you know you can't control the actions of even your closest family members. So it's and you know getting tarnished with that brush and all the things that I imagine those people go through. Yeah.
Definitely.
Did you ever get any like other people that were actually who'd actually been in situations like that come to you or message you or that kind of thing too?
No, I mean it's interesting. This is how the industry works as well. It's like it's interesting because it was a real success of a show and did really well in terms of I suppose like we got awards and that kind of thing, and nominations, but actually bums on seats, as we call it in the industry, like people actually watching. We didn't have packed out theatres, we didn't have, but like the few people that did come and see it, like it touched them. And like that's the nature of Edinburgh as well. You kind of go, oh yeah, we had packed out audiences and sold loads and like made lots of money, or we got the very very rarely like the top 0 point something percent probably get both. But yeah, it's very much, it's interesting how it plays out. It's really interesting how it plays out. So no, I didn't have any. I had someone that had been in that situation, as in like had done an awful lot of crime, and like I said, like the other guy that had come up to me afterwards crying, he'd said to me like, you've completely changed my life in a way that I never thought possible, because I've never thought about how my actions had affected my family.
Wow. Wow. How does it make you feel when you, especially with the realizations you have now, how does that still make you feel good that you have that impact?
Yeah, it makes me feel really proud. I think, I don't know, it's almost like it didn't, it's strange, like it's almost like it's a different lifetime, like it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, yeah, reflecting on it, I'm like, wow, imagine if, like, I mean, the dream for me was to continue that momentum and like, you know, get it on elsewhere and like, you know, my absolute dream was Trafalgar Studios. I was like, get me to Trafalgar Studios, let me do a little studio show, like absolutely incredible. But like I said, the industry is geared to, I don't know, to who you know, and because I hadn't trained, because I hadn't got those connections, family connections, yeah, it just kind of skyrocketed and then fell off.
Yeah. I've actually been hearing a little bit about this as well in the industry about family connections. I might have read something a couple of weeks ago talking about how, most people in the creative industry that are like filmmakers, I think it was in this context, saying that I think it was a tweet where someone said, "Oh, yo, listen, if you don't have the connections with family and things like that, like it's gonna be expensive for you to run these things, and don't put that pressure of having to be the big thing, because for a lot of people that they have that the family ties and all those things. Is that really is it really that prevalent in the
I would say
acting film?
yeah, I think I suppose it's with any industry really. Like any industry's got an element of who you know, and if your uncle works in it, then cool, you've got that kind of helping hand. Or but very much so with yeah, the acting industry. I think it's and yeah, filmmaking as well. It's almost like a closed club that
Yeah.
you have to get VIP access to. And I think I did find it incredibly hard when, like I said, I'd earned my stripes, I'd got my badge of honor, I'd like got awards, and I still was met with that resistance of
You don't fit the
don't
mold of what
we
of the
don't know.
AD.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have
um
XYZ
mm,
family, this went to this college or school and
yeah,
worked with this person who is in this industry. So okay, you get through. If not, doesn't matter what you did. Doesn't matter. We're just gonna scoop you off to the side. And
and
I'm
I think
guessing in part that must have. I'm guessing in part that must have been something that also made you want to step into something else.
definitely, I think it had this I think looking back again, like I almost would walk into auditions knowing, and probably because I knew that I, you know, didn't belong there. As in I'd never been in these like, yeah, melting pots, these circles before. I
Mhm,
hadn't trained, I hadn't, I'd done the kind of step by step guide to becoming an actor. um
mhm.
yeah, I felt different. I felt like, I don't know, I don't think different's the right word. It's like I knew that there was something that I didn't have, and therefore I think it became then obvious to casting directors, and they just went, "Oh, she's not really that interested." And it plays like that.
Right.
That's the kind of like what we talk about when it's like so deeply embedded into something that it's yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting.
It's interesting though hearing you say that you didn't have any training. When I see like kind of the awards that you got, and even talking about the impact that you had through your work. So um, I always find it quite interesting, and I think anybody who might be thinking about going into that acting space might also find it interesting is how, without formal training, you then built your skill set. What kind of things did you do to improve as an actor?
I think I was, to begin with, I kind of had a bit of like a step by step that I tell people. So I finished school, knew that I wanted to act, joined like local amateur dramatics groups. So I was kind of keeping my skills and tools. I was doing it, not getting
Mm,
paid. Obviously, that was just amateur stuff, but like learning as I did. I then got myself on Star Now, which is like a casting platform. Which I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna put myself on Star Now, see what happens, like do the best that I can with this profile, get myself some headshots, like get someone I know that does photography to do some nice headshots for me. So I was a bit resourceful, like kind of, I suppose, entrepreneurial. Like I kind of went, how can I break the system in a way that I'm just doing it? And I'd do things like student films. I would look in strange places for castings as well. Like there's different like Facebook groups and things that, like Actors UK, or all sorts of different things that you can kind of, I don't know, trawl through. And then I went from Star Now, got a few credits, I suppose, and then went on to Casting Call Pro, which is now Mandy, Actors Network or Performers Network, and then got some more credits, and then it was just through persistence really of going along to one-day trainings at my local theatre, or they'd maybe get in a theatre company. And I mean, I grew up in Derby, so Derby Theatre was great for like getting in external companies to come in and do, I don't know, like a we had, I think Complicité did a workshop with us, or all sorts of different theatre companies that were already doing it, doing really well. They came in, did a day training or did a day like masterclass, and just getting in there and like doing. So I talk about not having training, and really it was just like more of a bit by bit thing. So I would be training, I was going to like masterclasses and things like that when I could afford to, but I was also kind of working a part-time job and, you know, juggling everything and kind of like just spending every waking moment on my laptop, like searching through castings, applying to castings, making sure that I sounded like interested and not just copy and paste job, but like I'm really interested in your theatre company, I saw such and such at the such and such. So like making real connection, so that it's essentially one day someone goes, oh okay, yeah, let's get her in. And then
proper hustling.
Doing the one woman show got me an agent, so that like changed gear. I got an agent, which was great.
Did that make things a lot easier for you to land more or get into more conversations and spaces?
I think it was more auditions in terms of like those rooms that I couldn't enter on my own. With an agent I could, but I think looking back I'm not really sure what I was thinking at the time, but I ended up like ending with my agent, partly because I moved to London and I'm still getting sent for jobs and things in the Midlands, and I think in a way, and I've got to just own up to it, like looking back I was a bit hot-headed. I was like, I've moved to London, give me jobs in London. And and I kind of like threw my toys out of the pram and was like, no, I should be, you know, doing work in London, and I need to be like really making an impact down here, like I've moved here for a reason, like all of those things.
And they were just like, nah.
Well, they were like, look, we can do what we can do, but I think I had a bit of a problem with like authority of like someone managing me, and like putting me forward for things that they wanted me to be put forward for, and then me being like, oh okay, and me almost not really, as I say, no training, so I didn't really know what my what do they call it, like type, or my casting would be. Like I didn't know whether I was girl next door, or I didn't know whether I was, because I was picking up things left, right and centre, I was doing such a range of roles that it was hard for me to be like, oh, I am in this box, which actually the industry again really likes. They like you to know what you are, so that you can just be picked and harvested and put into like these rooms for these people because you fit that box, you tick that box. And I rebelled against it a bit. I was like, yeah, well, I was 21 and I paid a mother, so Like, I was 21, I played a 30-year-old, so
I know exactly what I'm doing over here. Thank you very much.
So I
I
was a
could
bit
be
rebellious.
anything.
I was like, come on now.
Yeah. In in hindsight, would you have gone with an approach of pigeonholing yourself to to, to I
Conform
guess
to.
find your space in the industry, or are
Mm,
you happy that you still try to be open to loads of different opportunities?
I think, like, I'll always say this, is like, I am so happy with like the way things have panned out, and it's not always been easy. And yes, I probably could have done things differently, but I wouldn't be where I am now if, yeah, if I hadn't made those choices, if I hadn't kind of gone down that route of rebellion and of, no, I don't fit in, and I'm different and I can do this on my own. And I think that did bite me in the end, and I thought that I could do it on my own. um and then, like I say, things changed and I lost the love and I
Mm,
broke up with the industry.
well, I hope you've recovered from the initial heartbreak.
Definitely.
It looks like it looks
Definitely.
like you have. It looks like you have. Um, that's that's good to know though, that the rebellious nature. I think for anyone listening, they should, if they feel that way, they should
I think, yeah, try
go.
and break the rules, because it's not a perfect industry as well. That's what we've got to remember. Like, I think, as we've obviously, it goes back to your pandemic question, like, how am I coping? How am I, like, we are entering into a brand new set of ways of doing things. Let's
Mm,
rebuild it in a way that isn't as broken as the old way.
hmm
So
More
yeah,
that has
that
more
means,
nuance, I
yeah,
guess.
if that means breaking rules, if that means like getting your voice heard, and that's like everybody getting your voice heard, like, yeah, it's worth it. It's what it should be. And kind of my, I suppose my, one of the things that I live by is like, uh, what lives beyond fear is freedom. Is like, you've got to push through that kind of, oh god, it's so scary and I don't really know how to do it, and I don't know what the hell's going to happen when I get there, and like all of those things. But often, or what I've found is often what lives beyond that is like such a level of, well, I knew that I was doing it for me. um yeah.
That's it. And it's true because you said it before that what you loved about doing the one woman show was the fact you love that feeling of, wow, this is scary, this is really
Mm,
hard. But then on the flip, like I guess the flip side of that, or the other side of the same coin, is the freedom that gives you, that, regardless of that being what, regardless of those emotions rising within you, you got the freedom. So it's
yeah,
like the trade-off. Um, so yeah,
definitely.
that's real. Did you have a favorite did you have a favorite role that you did like acting as, though? Maybe not one that you wanted to do all the time, but one that you actually favored the most. Was there one like that for you?
I think, to be honest, it was the one woman show, and that's just because of the content and the like
Mm,
challenging nature of it. And when I say challenging, like, yes, challenging for me to perform, but also challenging in terms of what I was giving the audience as a question. Because I think any piece of good theatre, any piece of good like storytelling has got to have this question that it is provoking in the audience. It's got to have like
mm,
meaning. Otherwise, it's just entertainment. It's just fluff that you may as well watch, I don't know, reality TV, which, again, no problem with it. It's fine. But it doesn't have that like message of, what are you doing? What are you doing that's going to help? What are you doing that is shifting consciousness or these
Mm,
big questions.
right. The thought-provoking work was the thing that attracted you more than a specific role.
Definitely.
Mm,
Definitely.
mm. Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm with you on that. Those are the kind of pieces of art that I gravitate more towards, especially musically as well. Like, some of my best favorite albums are of rappers who've really explored deeply into a particular subject. I mean, yeah, the music that sounds good is good and it's entertaining, it's nice, but
Yeah.
yeah, those things, because I think, like you said, it makes you as the person experiencing it or consuming it have to take a journey as well and
Mm.
reflect on the things that are happening within the piece of art. And ultimately, um, if a lot of people come into contact with that, then it, you know, allows for conversations, it allows for, solutions, allows for growth and actions and things to, yeah, change, like things to arise from that. Um, I guess similarly, in a way, the pandemic has forced people to do a mad amount of things. Like art
Mm.
that's really good can also invoke that feeling too. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. What was the experience like for you when you were performing at like Edinburgh Fringe and even Brighton Fringe? What's that like? Because obviously, as a person who's been to Edinburgh Fringe and lived in Edinburgh while it was happening in 2018, I'm just there like watching so many different pieces and it's all fun and like the vibe of the city is just lit. Like anybody listening who hasn't been to Edinburgh Fringe when the pandemic's over and you're
Please go.
able to go, just go because it's sick. It's sick. Like I can't really describe it, but it's not really something that I've ever had. Like you can't really compare it to London or it's just its own thing. But obviously that's just me as a consumer. I don't have
Mm.
to do any work to enjoy any of it, really. So for you as a performer, and especially because I'm imagining you are performing for the majority of that 3-4 weeks,
Mm.
what is it like there? And not even just you performing for that amount of time, like so many other things going on. What's that experience like?
Overwhelming in a word, like
Yeah.
really overwhelming, exhausting, um quite like exhilarating, I suppose. I'm just throwing all these words at you, but like no, it's very exactly what you said. It's like no other experience. And I think, as I said, you really have to check your mental health. You really have to like make sure that you're looking after yourself, because you can get so swept up in the parties and this and that, and oh well, I want to see a show, and oh I want to do this, and oh yeah, but oh yeah, so and so's got a ticket for the VIP bar, oh yeah, let's do that. Like, and so you're kind of swept with the tide of Edinburgh, and like you are just trying to swim, and then amongst that you're trying to market your own show, which is, if you've been down the mile, it's where
Yeah.
everybody's leaflets and is handing you this, take this, come to this, come to this. And it's got this real energy about it. But when your show's not doing well and you just want people to come and watch, it's
Mm,
it's really soul destroying. But you've got to still get out there, and you've got to still be like, come to the best show in the world, like you're not gonna miss it.
yeah.
um, yeah, it's such an interesting one. But I think my main piece of advice to anyone that does perform there is, check your mental health. Make sure that you are, just give yourself, like, if you're there for the month, give yourself a day a week where you just like chill, don't do too
Mm,
much, switch off, um, sleep a bit.
yeah.
um, and yeah, I suppose when I did it, by the
Mm,
end of the month, I was in a really dark place because I didn't know how to de-roll. and it was me and the writer up there. So it was just us two. It wasn't like we had a whole theatre company. It wasn't like there was a whole group of us. It was like me and the writer. And
Wow.
it was this, yeah, like you're almost a needle in a haystack. Like you are literally just one tiny little person in this, I said like waves earlier, like a sea, an ocean of culture and talent. And because let's face it, like everybody there has got some sort of talent and is sharing something that they have worked on, that they've worked hard on. So everyone deserves to be seen. Not everyone can be.
Yeah. not, not enough bums to put on all the seats that are available.
Exactly.
Yeah, wow. Because with just you and the writer, then you've both got no support, and I'm guessing he's doing the same thing as you, like trying to get people.
Yeah. I
To
mean, it
share.
became
Yeah.
quite hard, and I actually had to put a bit of a boundary in place because he was coming to me as we were like getting ready for the show, we were getting ready for the evening performance, and he was kind of going like stressing out, like, oh, I don't know whether we've got enough seats and blah blah blah, and like, and I was like, I can't hear this right now. Like, I have just got to do the show. I have just got to do the show, and I've just got to bring it tonight for whoever is in the audience. If it's one person, I'm gonna do the same performance for them. So please, I just got to bring it. So for me, it was like, yeah, it was a roller coaster, a real roller coaster.
Yeah. But I mean, in some ways, and I guess in some ways externally, because for you, you had your own journey with the show, and you got your own experiences, like you mentioned, like people actually coming up and being touched in the way that you want your art to deliver a
Yeah.
message, and you got that. And then also, I guess externally, you were nominated for a number of awards with the Fringe um, Fringe performances. So obviously another element of everything is like criticism and people's what people think about what it is you're delivering, and I guess more mainly the people who have a more of a platform, like the industry heads or the people who do the reviews or give out the awards. How do you deal with criticism from those people specifically, like those people who are in industry with some kind of name that allows them to be seen as a voice of reason? How do you deal with criticism from those people specifically?
I think, I mean, like I say, I only had a positive experience in terms of I got quite good reviews, but I know
Mm-hmm.
people that got really, really terrible reviews, and it's almost, it goes back to what I said about like being Maisie the actress, and Maisie the performer, and it almost being like if I don't know what would have happened if I'd got those negative reviews that people get, because it's hard not to take criticism personally, regardless of who it's from. Like anyone tells you that something you've put, blood, sweat, and tears, you've worked really hard at, you've been rehearsing for months, you've put money into to get up there, all of those things. Anybody, whether they are, an esteemed judge on a panel or knows the industry, or
Yeah.
whether they're just your average Joe Bloggs that comes in off the street and goes, oh, actually, I'm going to have a little look at this and see what's on. Criticism hurts the same. So I would say it almost, you've got to, I don't like the word armoring, but like, yeah, armor yourself
Mm-hmm.
for this isn't personal. This show is not me.
Mm.
I am me, and this is the show. This is what I'm doing at the moment. And I think for people that self-produced, for people that, a little bit like what we did, it was he'd written it, I'd helped him kind of write it along the way. Like, it was very much our show. It was our baby. We'd created something that was like rich and full of life from our own experience. Like, from a lot of it was my own personal experience that I was bringing, like, trauma to the rehearsal room. So it was hard then to dissociate and be like, this show is not about me, because it kind of is. And it's almost like artwork. Like, I said to someone recently, because I've started doing like paintings and drawings and things as well, and it's very hard to, with art, with any sort of art, not for there to be an essence of your soul in it. That sounds really deep, but like, good art, there is a part of that person living and breathing through it or within it. So I think, yeah, armoring yourself, making sure that you've got like a nice, like, healthy support network that's going to bring you back up when you get that criticism. Because like I said, criticism from any level, it hurts, and it's gonna hurt, and you're allowed to cry about it, but you've got to be able to get yourself up, dust yourself off, and carry on. So yeah, support networks, checking your mental health, and making sure you're looking after yourself. Yeah.
Wise words to take it on, because like even for me, like just doing this podcast, and I've been making music recently, I've been very hyper aware of any like critical words or any kind of bit of feedback, and I'm trying to, wash away the initial like visceral reactions. But yeah, I guess ultimately you have to be ready to take it and know, even though your soul's in it, because your soul is in it. You've dedicated time of your life, limited life, into something. Yeah, it's gonna leave some damage if you do. It's gonna have an effect if you do get criticism. I mean, have you had to face it at that kind of level, after you performed in places like the Fringe, like in, I guess, in other contexts? Was that something you?
It's interesting because actually at the Fringe, I can't remember which Fringe it was, but one of the performances that we did, a producer from America came to watch and was like, came up to us afterwards and was like, yeah, I really like the show, like, here's the contact details, like, let's, swap contact details, let's keep in touch. And I thought it was great. He then sent the writer a message and had said, I would really like to put this show on off Broadway because it's, it's really good, like, great content, like, yeah, I'd like to put it on off Broadway, and get a named actress to play the part.
Oh man. And the thing is, it's not that, because that's not even necessarily like criticism, but it
Not
basically
but
is.
it's just the same.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was that like?
Painful.
Yeah.
Very painful. And I suppose it was one of the reasons that I started questioning the industry as well, because I was like, if I can put all of this energy and time and effort and love and pain and like literally every part of my essence into something to be taken away from me like that because of the fact that it would sell better with a named actress. Yeah, I started thinking, wow, do I want to be in an industry like that?
Yeah. No,
Do I want to keep putting myself in the firing line? Because you can take so much as a human. You can take so much that you do, you build up a resilience, you build up this, you build up that. But then me, as this person that identified herself as Maisie the actress that did this show, that did well, it
Mm.
yeah, it was really tough. It was really tough, and it kind of broke apart me and the writer's relationship a bit, because it was, obviously he wants to do best for him and he's got to make those calls, and I completely got that as well. That was the painful thing, was like, I understand and it hurts so much, and like I am in pieces right now, but I get it, and I can't stop you from going after
Mm.
that.
Yeah,
So
man, that's a really difficult situation. I'm
mm,
guessing it probably one of the most difficult you faced in the industry because
in
of
the
something
industry,
that
yeah,
because of something that you were so heavily involved in. Because you did say that you helped with some of the writing
I
of
mean, I
it,
came on board. I came on board, and the first, I think, 3 pages had been written of the script.
and
So, so when I came on board, it was really like, okay, right, you need to go away and write the script while I like
Mm.
learn this bit, and we need to talk about the character. And like, I don't know where it is now, but I've got a notebook which is full, like absolutely chock-a-block full of notes on the character, on who she is, on like where she's from, on like her backstory, on why she had, her son, on like who the father was, on like all of that like relationship stuff, and like, so I built
Mm.
this character from, yeah, from my imagination, I suppose. And yeah,
Mm.
he wrote the words and wrote them beautifully, and put them into this gorgeous text that was wonderful to speak. But yeah, it was hours. it was
Yeah.
something we'd created together. And because as well, I think this is another thing about the industry, like, because I was technically the actress,
Hmm.
I was technically the actress. I was just the actress. Like, that was it.
So
So
it was like, yeah, all right, you did that, but yeah,
yeah,
man, that is gonna have you questioning the whole thing, innit?
definitely, definitely.
Would you say that that was an inspiration for you in just in a different way,
Yeah.
like to start? Because I seen recently that you started directing some pieces. I saw a piece, I think on your LinkedIn actually, of a poem with a lot of people. Was that experience kind of like a like, oh, maybe I should do my own pieces myself? Was that something that
Definitely. I think
inspired that?
I've always been I think, again, like being in the industry, it's like you are very reliant on other people to give you the role, to believe in you in order to, get you on board, and all of these components. Whereas it was lockdown that I did that video, and I was like, I have always wanted to direct. I have written this poem. I don't see myself as performing this poem. I can kind of see how it looks. I'm in a building full of people, and I wonder whether, if, yeah, I mean, what is there to lose if I put it out there? If I put out a little advert and I say, hello, I'm Maisie, I'm doing this thing, and I wonder whether anyone wants to enjoy and like come along, and I can buy you a drink in the bar for doing it. Um, and yeah, people jumped on it, and that was almost yeah, a little mini project to prove to myself that I could.
Mm.
Um, and I didn't need, and yeah, I think the collaboration and everything is like hugely important. And like, for example, that whole thing wouldn't have been a thing if I hadn't got someone on board to do the filming, and the other people that came on board to help perform the poem. So
Mm.
collaboration is great, but I'd never been in that role. I wasn't aware of any way that I could um, get that role, especially as the industry was like closed. It was
Yeah,
lockdown, so it was like everything's closed.
yeah.
So I thought, okay, well, this is my chance just to play around and see how it feels to be our director. And I loved
Mm.
it. I really loved it. Um, just being able to pull out a performance from mainly, like I say normal people, but like I think one of the people that I got to do the poem was actually an actor by trade.
Oh, so everyone, most of the
The
people in it
others,
weren't.
they weren't actors, yeah, they were just people that were interested and thought, yeah, that sounds cool.
Oh, that's sick. Because I just watched it and assumed that was the case.
No,
Wow.
they were normal people.
Normies. Oh, sick. And it sounds like the what you got out of it was just the finished article because you said you just wanted to know you could do it. I always
Yeah.
love when you can like that's the goal. It's really freeing, right? When just
Oh,
having it
definitely.
finished and done is the goal, and whatever it does, and wherever it goes. But just knowing that it was created is, I
I
guess
think
that's
that's
the
the beauty
truest.
and the essence of art is like
Yeah.
and what becomes complicated is when a price is put on it. Um
Mm.
and there were conversations that I had about that piece, about like potentially using it as a video campaign for a friend that was doing something, and you know what, I actually got to the point where I just said outright, that's not what I want this to be. I just
Mm.
want to prove to myself that I can do this. I don't want this to get millions of views. I don't want this, like, I mean, obviously it's cool if it does, but that's not my goal here. My goal is to
Mm.
prove to myself that I can create something.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, and like you say, it's so freeing when you don't have that like financial pressure, or producers or things on your back, like, oh well, we've got to get ticket sales, or we've got to get this, or we've got to like get this many streams, or we've got to get this, all of those things.
Yeah.
Art for art's sake, I think, is the phrase that I used, um
Mm.
which I truly believe in.
It is difficult though, isn't it? Like in this, I guess, Western capitalist world to create art for art's sake because people need to eat, they need to live, they need to pay shit. So it's so hard. And the
Yeah.
thing is, in inevitably, when that's the case, you do sometimes suffocate the art. Like, one of the things I guess that I've been reading about earlier is oh no, I think what's that guy's name? Childish Gambino, Donald Glover. I think he made some noise a few couple weeks ago about the fact that the industry's not being brave with the pieces that they're putting out. Like they're just putting out the same old things that they know are gonna sell, and it's kind of like watering down the content that everyone's getting in a like TV show sense because we're not being bold enough with the storylines and the themes within pieces. It's just like, okay, that worked, so we're just
Yeah.
gonna do an adaptation or something similar to that. Um, and I guess yeah, that's an example of the art being suffocated because of money. It's hard.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is. I think this is what, like, the beauty of the course that I'm on now is that we use the arts, and like I said earlier, like in a sort of um, all of the arts sort of
Mm,
way. So you've got image, you've got so you can use paint, you can use oil, you can like canvas, all of these different things. You've got like poetry, which obviously we touched on earlier. We've got puppetry, we've got drama, we've got dance, movement, like all of those different things that we can use, and as a tool to explore your own like psyche. So what we're encouraged to do is like keep an arts journal. So it's
yeah,
okay, well, I'm struggling with this emotion, and I don't really know how to vocalize it, so I'm just gonna like scribble something down, or I'm just gonna throw some paint at this page and like see what happens. And it's
yeah,
incredible what happens when you don't have a end goal of, oh well, I'm gonna make something, I'm gonna sell it on Etsy, and I'm gonna make this amount of money for it, and I'm gonna pay my bills and all those things. Um,
yeah.
because the freedom to be wrong. It's this boldness that you were talking about. Freedom to be wrong, the freedom to be not so good allows for this new level of creativity that, and honestly, some of my pictures are just, you look at it and go, mess. Like, it's a mess. But it's a mess in the sense of there are components to it that are so, I can look back and I go, oh yeah, because that kind of depicts what I was feeling about that, or that, you know, I can understand why that is there because, you know, I was thinking about that at that point, and so you make meaning of it. And yeah, it's this pressure's taken off. It's expression for expression's sake, and for that real true reason of, I want to express so I can move this trapped energy that is stuck inside of me, that is making me sad, that is, you know, treading me down into the ground. And that's what dance is. Like, if we go back years and years and, you know, thousands of years ago, we dance for that ecstatic release. We want to release. We want to feel alive. So yeah, I think art in the big word sense is for release, and it's for expression and understanding, and money, byproduct, maybe.
Yeah. Is that an insight that you've got from doing this diploma in therapeutic and educative application of the arts? Is that what you're is that something you got through doing that then? Like that
Definitely.
insight?
And like I said, I think I kind of, it clicked to me how like powerful the arts were when I was doing the show that I did, because I was like, yeah, like I'm able to challenge people's perceptions, I'm able to ask questions, I'm able to do this, that, and the other, but like this extra level. And I always knew that when I'd been on a night out and had a nice dance and like really let my spirit run free and just felt the music, I always felt better. So it's like, it was always there, but this diploma that I'm doing at the moment is like, okay, so this is the evidence to back that. This is the neuroscience and to back the things that you were feeling. So it's almost coming full circle of, I've always sort of known it. I've always sort of known that, yeah, creativity, like I said earlier, creativity is in me. Like, that is just a part of me. And actually, I would argue that it's in everybody. Like, we are creative beings. We are human beings, and we do things. We make things. We change things. We shape things. We move. We are fluid. We are, you know, momentous. We do things. So we're all, in a sense, creative, I think.
It's in our essence.
Definitely. It's what differentiates us, really. Differentiates us from a lot of the animal kingdom. And obviously, you know, there are these beautiful fish that make gorgeous little sculptures in the sand. So
oh really?
Yeah, there's animals that do it as well. There's animals that create these beautiful little swirls in the sand, and yeah. But I think we don't give ourselves enough credit for that, yeah, creative energy that we all have inside us somewhere. And especially in the Western world, we're kind of like told that that's just artists, or that's just the creative people, whereas maths is creativity, science is creativity, English is creativity. It is the human mind going as far as it can go.
Boy, that's big. That's deep. Maths and science being creative, because it's true. But then,
you've got an argument there.
Yeah, but then as well, and then also, if it is true, then what does that say about our understanding of everything that's going on in the world, universe? And you can get real deep with that one.
I've shocked myself. I'm like, wow, yeah, no, I'd not even considered that, but I think it's true.
Yeah.
I think it's true.
So in essence, we all have the ability to bring this out and express it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
right.
think so.
And, I'm guessing that's probably ties into why when you said earlier when you were reflecting, you really wanted to help like people within the arts. And so is that what encouraged you to qualify as a coach? Because I know you mentioned that you're, working with people in the Sony Music Group
Mm,
internship
yeah,
program. So
yeah.
what are you working on those kind of concepts and mindsets within that space?
Yeah, I mean, with coaching, it's such a beautiful journey because essentially a coach's job is to sit and listen and ask the right questions. Um,
Mm,
and it's been an absolute pleasure to like anyone that I've coached, like just to be able to be that human being that allows space for another person to be creative in a way.
yeah.
So to let their mind wander, to let their mind just go, okay. And actually it's got to a point now where I qualified at the beginning of 2020 with the Mo Foundation, doing amazing like coaching training, and their whole manifesto is me, others, everyone. So it's like, and they do the coaching because they can. Like they do it for free for people from impoverished or like disadvantaged backgrounds. If you can't afford to do it, then they have other people that pay more, and you end up with this mix of just people from all different backgrounds doing the training.
Mm,
And it really just teaches you about like empathetic listening and really absorbing what another person is saying
mm,
and being interested, because if you actually allow yourself, like everybody is so interesting, everyone's got their story to tell, everyone's got like everything that makes them them, everyone is at like a certain point in their life where they're just figuring things out, like yeah, to be able to be in that space where I'm like sitting opposite someone on a computer mainly at the moment, but sitting
yeah.
opposite someone nonetheless, like, and be that sounding board for someone is hugely fulfilling. It's enriching. It's like I get to see the creative exploration of another person's mind play out in front of me. And I get to,
Mm,
okay, cool. So you said this about that. I'm just wondering how you feel about this. Or you said this about that. I'm going to say that back to you. So you end up like repeating back in that real active listening, reflecting back, um, making someone feel heard, feel listened to. A
yeah.
lot of my course at the moment is all about like the power of being listened to, and how that really can change lives. A secure connection, a secure attachment, um,
Mm,
has the ability to really just change people's lives for the better. Because I think a lot of what's wrong with the world is that we don't listen to each other. We are listening, like we began with like listening to ourselves, following our own interests and our own like living in this kind of bubble, I suppose.
mm,
And when you start listening to other people and allowing other people to listen to you, it creates, deeper connections, a deeper richness to like connection to humanity as a whole. You stop blaming other people for things that you don't like about yourself. You stop like these deep rooted things that actually divide, separate, disconnect, and make us
mm.
feel inadequate. And so I would say that I've gone a bit off on like a tangent there, but I'd say that coaching is good work. I enjoy
I can't believe you went so like deep and then just went, yeah, it's good work.
it's good
Summary.
work.
Good work. Oh, you're just it really sounds like you're allowing people to like connect with themselves and others ultimately
Mm,
more. So themselves through the art, and then others through them being able to talk and listen and have that back and forth.
definitely, definitely.
Yeah, proper rewarding. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I feel that way sometimes with the podcast. Actually, like
It's so
I
nice.
I, I love learning about people's journeys, and when you ask questions
Mm,
and people tell you so much, it's like wow, you gain so many different perspectives. You learn things that you didn't even know about. You reflect with on the things that people have said with yourself, like, oh yeah, I've always thought that, or oh right, I've never thought of it that way. And if I look at it myself, oh, I've done that, so maybe I can stop doing that. It's sick. It, it's very wholesome, I think,
yeah.
is the better word to say.
I think something you said to me like years ago, you were like,
Yeah,
I've held it with me. I've told people this week because knew I was coming on here. You were
yeah.
like, you've got a really colourful personality. And I would
Mm,
argue that not only I have a colourful personality, but everybody does if they get a chance to share that.
mm,
If they don't feel like they just have to be black and white or, three primary colours. If they get to be the whole kaleidoscope, and if you create a safe space for them to be that, they have
yeah,
that potential.
yeah. Or if they, I guess, if they create that space within themselves and
Exactly.
to be
Exactly.
that, yeah.
I think what's powerful though as well, like in kind of a lot of the studies and evidence and theory behind
Mm,
the the learnings and things that I'm doing at the moment is it's you can only go so far on your own. You can only go so far on like the journey of introspection and learning about yourself and like, oh yeah, I can, I know this about myself and blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to piece it all together. But until you have another human being in front of you, you
mm.
cannot, I repeat, you cannot make sense of yourself.
Ooh,
Like, yeah, you can't because you are always if you're constantly having just the conversation with you,
yeah,
it's got nowhere to go. It's got
yeah,
nowhere to go. So you end up, running yourself into these little knots and going, oh yeah, but then I think this is true. But then, and sometimes the power in just voicing something, even if it's not true, even if it doesn't make sense, even if, the power of that, of going, oh yeah, well, I feel this way. And then the other person going, oh, so you feel this way. And then them going, oh, actually, do I? Do I feel
yeah,
this? It's almost
mm,
like another person becomes your canvas for you to
yeah,
depict, or your page for you to write, or your yeah.
mm.
And
Yeah,
there's
because we get,
neuroscience these days to like back it all and get into our heads. Exactly.
yeah, we get into our own like our own heads become like our own jails.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
I'm even thinking of a situation that happened a couple of weeks ago. I'm panicking about something, and someone just goes, I'm telling my housemate about it. It's like, oh, da, 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 da. And I'm like, oh yeah. And this jail that I'm running around in is just like imprison me, and it's just like, oh, someone's got a whole different map, and they're like, oh yeah, if I add that little pathway there, then yeah, this isn't as
I think that is why isolation is so dangerous.
mm,
And that's why this year is going to be like really interesting to see the repercussions of this year, because people have had to isolate, people have had to be locked away with their own minds. And
mhm.
suicide rates are up. Like, they are up. They are high. I know people. I can say like in the last year, I know two people that have committed suicide.
Oh wow, man. So sorry to hear that. And
But it's the danger of isolation and the danger of, like you said, a prison in your own mind, and not having someone
mm,
just to say, oh, I'm feeling a bit fed up today. Sometimes that's all it takes. I'm feeling a bit fed up
mm,
today. And for that person to go, okay, I hear you, I'm with you, what do you need, how can I help?
Therapy is really good for that.
Therapy.
But even just talking to people that you know, love, and trust on a level. Yeah.
I think so. Therapy, like this is what I'm training for. Is
Mm.
I'm now weighing up whether to go and do the full 3 years of MA and become an
Cool.
integrative arts psychotherapist at the end of it. But which is a mouthful. But yeah, I'll be a psychotherapist at the end of it. And they talk in the training about kind of secure attachments or secure attachments to other people is good enough. What the problem is that some people don't have connections to their family, they don't have secure attachments, they don't have those people that they trust, that they can rely on, and that is where the problem lies, and that is where therapists intervene and go, okay, I am your person that you can build this secure attachment to, and I'm not going to let you down. And yes, everybody has let you down and everybody has, made you feel inadequate, but I am not going to be that person. I am going to sit here and I'm going to listen to you, and this is your time.
Yeah. And you can just unload on that person. Yeah. Without fear of the judgment, without fear of repercussions. It's really freeing. Even just the act of doing that, let alone building the pathways out of your jail, just being able to unload. Yeah.
Definitely.
We're coming towards the end of the podcast, Maisie, and I've got one more, I think, important question, especially with what we've been discussing what we've been discussing on. With all the things that you've done and experienced, and even the big metamorphosis from being Maisie the actor to now Maisie finding herself, Maisie on the route to becoming a psychotherapist within the arts. What do you envision, like, yourself going forwards? And I guess what advice would you give to people who maybe are stuck, maybe not stuck, but in that like actor phase or wanting to be that, like, what would you say to those people? And what are you trying to achieve now, considering the changes you've been having?
I think what springs to mind is all anybody truly has is right now. And it's so cliche and it's so, simple but complex.
Yeah.
Realistically, we do not know what tomorrow is going to bring. So if we can learn to exist truly, not in the future of, oh, where do I want to go? And, how do I get there? And because you become stressed about, oh, how am I going to get there? And like, oh, maybe if I do this, maybe if I do that. And jail. Your brain goes into this, like, panic mode. Not existing in the past. So not going down the road of, oh yeah, but if I'd done that differently, then maybe I could have done this, and then, oh, maybe I'd be different if this had happened when I was young, or maybe, like I said earlier, or maybe if I had family in the industry, or maybe this, or maybe that, or that's not going to serve you right now. What is going to serve you is being fully present in every moment. And I would say, like, smile at the people you see in the street, be kind, go above and beyond, because I think we're all going to need to be able to help each other, and I think that is to repair a broken industry. Like, we're going to have to be kind, we're going to have to look after each other. So yeah, look out for each other, live in the present moment, and give it what you got.
Nice. That's a great message. I think that's a great way to round off the podcast. Thank you for devoting a good chunk of your time
No
to jump on
problem.
the podcast. I think this has been a really good one, even for me, just learning more about you. But I think also for anybody who is feeling like they have to be something and
Mm.
have attached their art and creative. I'm even talking to myself a little bit there too, to their identity and navigating that and the kind of things you've done to change that, and that you can come out of that. I think that's a
Definitely.
really, really positive way to look at it. You can come out of that if you're feeling doubts about it. You can step out.
But we're there to be like there will be people that have done it before, and there will be people there to support you. Um, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, for those people who watched this podcast and want to follow your journey wherever it takes you and want to see the kind of work you're putting out, and I'm sure more director pieces are going to be coming out at some point. Where can they find you?
So I am generally on Instagram. That's like my main mode of connection. And that's maybe underscore. So it's MAIB underscore. And that's it. Or LinkedIn. So if you're kind of really, I suppose, into work connections, you can find me on LinkedIn. And if you're looking for some coaching as well, like I am offering my services to people. So if you find yourself at that kind of crossroads, not really knowing how to navigate it, then give me a bell.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm plugging this for you guys. If you want that coaching, Maisie's got it for you, in abundance. I can tell. Um, yeah, thank you. Thanks again for being on the podcast. Everyone listening, if you got to this point, thank you again for listening. On YouTube or Spotify. If you like it, subscribe, do all that stuff, please. But yeah, we'll hopefully catch you on the next episode. Take care, everyone. Bye.